Okay, recording has started. So officially, good morning. Happy Sunday. Welcome to the Market Watch Group Sunday Market Insights. My favorite day. This is the linchpin day. Everything breaks from here. And today we recognize that whatever we say for our posture, there's going to be an asterisk next to it that we have to address as we see the futures come on tonight. Who's popping on in the evening to check out the futures? Be honest, you are, aren't you? And if you wake up in the middle of the night, do you pull it out and just be like, I wonder what the futures are doing? Or is that just me? Oh, always, right? Thank you. So we'll all be looking tonight after this conversation, and we're going to say, okay, if we see the futures down 1.5%, it's a nasty response. It's still not going to be that necessarily tomorrow, but we won't love that initial nastiness sub 1%. If it's like 0.5% in the evening, I'm going to be okay. I'm going to be like, all right, we'll see. Now, if it's 0.5% in the evening and then tomorrow it ramps up in the morning, which we'll talk about in the morning, then it's a whole different thing again. But I think that's what we're watching for when it comes to the evening. Whoops. This is for educational and illustrative purposes only. We don't give recommendations to buy or sell financial products or securities, and we're not brokers or advisors. And here is our agenda. Crypto market is 24. Everything is red. Okay. Where's my... Oh, I'll get to it. What are we going to do today? Market posture, economic calendar. Look at the sectors that we want to search for. Watch list maintenance. What does our opportunity list look like? And what trading plan section are we working on? We're almost done with our second loop. If you were here from January, you could have had 2 full... No, is this our third loop? 8 weeks. 8 weeks. Our third loop. This is our third loop on the trading plan loop. You could have a fully polished plan by now. If not, get on the train and get started. We're working on analytics. Last week was record keeping. Now that you've done your record keeping, you'll have analytics. Loopy looping. That's it. Okay, let's get into it. Let me get let's look at... I don't know why this won't pop to the top, but... Oh, I'm pretty sure it just shut down on me now. Amazing. I just literally pulled up and changed my time zone. Unbelievable. And now it's locked. Oh, wait, never mind. It's attempting to reconnect. Jeez. Thinkorswim on Sundays does drive me crazy. I'm not going to lie. It's like I had it up. This one's not working either. Okay, what is going on here, you guys? Okay, at least one of them's coming back up here. While that's coming up, let's start here. Geopolitics overshadow economics. What to know? Investors set to head for safety as world awaits for Iran's response. There you go. But next to that, you see Israeli stocks rise as traders see U.S. hastening an end. Oil to open higher as U.S. strikes on Iran boosts supply risk premium. Yes, we'll see. And again, all of this pressure on oil is also pressure on prices. Remember that typically energy prices are approximately 30% of inflationary pressures. And with that, it could be that's going to have its own impact as we move forward. Gulf states fear escalation as U.S.-Iran strikes rattle region. Yeah, there you go. Okay, where's my posture? My account is almost done here, so let's... 3.5. I don't know. I think it's probably going to stay there anyways, but I want you to notice we've been in this, kind of in this range here. We're hoping to see a break to a higher range, and clearly what's going on right now is not conducive to that. Okay, we're back in business, but I've lost my chat. I can't see what you guys are saying. First full loop. Love it, Steve. How does the plan look after the first loop? Are you remembering that there are also videos that accompany it? If you ever needed to hear about any specific plan, don't forget that there's the videos and there is the sample plan that can help provide inspiration, hopefully, to take that 8 to an 8.5. We're not greedy. We're not going 8 to 9. We'll take 8 to 8.5 and then 8.5 to 9. Sure, it's fine. We're patient. Love it. Okay. Let's get to the SPY. It was funny too because the after hours on Friday, you'll notice, we're actually gained a little ground. We ended at 594 and then we got an extra point in the after hours. But I would imagine all bets are off at this point. However, before we even score anything, we are in the sellers cycle. The sellers have the floor. We can see the stochastics topped out. It broke down. We're in the downward swing. The sellers have the floor, and up until this point, including everything that happened with Iran-Israel last week, what have the sellers done? Someone give me an assessment. How do you see the sellers? Yeah, I agree. Not much. What have they done? They've done hardly anything. They've pushed it from 604 to 594. That's $8. That's 1.33% in a matter of 7 days. Now, are we issuing a challenge that they're going to rise to tomorrow? and they had volume. So it's going to be interesting. All right. But I feel like we're not in a place where we're like, oh, what's going to happen? My long-term score is not going to change. Right now, it seems we're maybe going to have that couple of weeks of pullback, and we've already had some of it. It's been mild, but if we have a week this week that looks like this, right? It's a negative week this week. And then the next week following, let's say there's a doji. What do we have? We have a flag on the long term. Do flags on the weekly chart count? Flag on any chart counts. That's why I and others like me love technical analysis, because it's scalable. Because whatever I apply to any chart, I can apply, right? And so in this situation, if we popped out of that, that would actually be quite a favorable signal. Like, there's no sky is falling happening right now, despite the conflict when you look at this chart and you look at our other chart, we're actually in positions of strength, and that this is simply just likely to be the catalyst that shows the current consolidation. And then we get to evaluate if the sellers don't do much on this one with this information backing and providing, part of the momentum. That could be actually quite favorable for us in the long term. So I don't want us to be like, we're never be one of like in that vein of making too much, right? We don't forecast the weather in August. We forecast the weather next week. That's my thoughts, anyways. Betting on a non-negative week. You think we're going to have a positive week, or you think it's positive or neutral, but not negative? I'm leaning towards a negative week. Based on how overextended we are right now. There's some headwinds. We haven't seen much of them, but I'm open. I mean, I'll go whatever. Positive or neutral. Okay, that's fair. That's fair. I'll be honest, I wouldn't mind it. I wouldn't mind to see it actually have a true seller's cycle where this thing comes down and it gets down into here and then it comes and turns, right? Like that's actually easier to trade, in my opinion. Think about like back in this area. Well, actually, if you look back, we had this, and then you had one small. That was kind of a V shape back there. And then we had one small pullback, and then it took off, and then you had a little bit bigger one, and then it took off, and then this was more like a 10%er right there. That was a big one. Yeah. Let's see. Score, unchanged. Let's go to the 6 month. Same thing. We just pushed up. We made a higher high. Now we've seen the sellers. Where are the sellers? Well, this is our last low. So even if it does come down more, if it can hold the 50, we'll still be okay. I'd be okay with that. If we had a negative week, if we down and then up a little and down, and then we end up down here and then we bounce from there, I'm okay with that. That's fine. I mean, I'd rather not. It means I might have to take a loss or two this week. I'd rather not. We'll see. We'll see. But what's the score going to be here? There is no score here. There's nothing to score. It just made a higher high. We're kind of watching it. It's over the last week. It just sort of is doing this. Mild pullback. Okay. Unchanged. Anybody change their long-term or short-term this week? I just didn't see anything that like was in any way convincing enough to make any kind of adjustments. But let me know if you did. I'm open. I'm open to the possibilities. No change for Tony Z. Yep, I agree. Okay. Let's zoom in one more time to the 1 month. And so interesting because we had another sell day. But one of these I'm throwing out. Right? One of these I'm throwing out, I've decided. I've been thinking about my analogy of like a math equation, and when you have a 2 on top of the equation and a 2 on the bottom, you're like, oh, I'm going to cancel those 2 out. Just cross that one. They cancel each other out. Right? I'm not saying these cancel each other out. What I'm saying is I'm not going to say -1 here and then you get +1 here and -1 here. They're all in the same place. I don't know. This is definitely, maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I should just leave myself alone. I'm going to add this over and move this over because why? Because it was a sell day, because there was big volume. Average of 73. We got 94 million. That's a pretty big clip, right? That's a 30% volume day. And it was the biggest day yet, so that was a little concerning. We got back a little bit. We recovered to about here in the after hours. So there's a little bit, but I'll tell you what we have coming up. I don't know. I could see us down near 585. Am I evaluating the week or by each day? Each day. Each day, but you know that sometimes I do compile data in volume to sort of make an adjustment if I need to. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to throw out, this is where it's a bit stale, and we're just going to toss all this, which it cancels itself out anyway. We have a tie, a sell, and a buy. Boom, that's out. We have two ties. I don't really need to worry about those ties either. I'm going to focus on this data here. Sell, 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 sell. 4 sells, 1 buy, 0 ties, because we're just doesn't matter. If you wanted to add those 2 ties in there, you could. They don't. This last does not really influence it much. It just sort of helps to see like what it means. Here's what's so weird. What would a 4 to sell day, 1 buy day have us score it? A negative. Minus 0.25. Maybe even thinking about a minus 0.5. Yes? I mean, it is what it is. So this is actually interesting because this is the first time I've seen it happen. The sanity check is new. The sanity check is something we as a group put into place early on. Some of you may have been here for when that got implemented to help. There was some challenges with the volume in interpretation. So we said, you know what, this will help us to orient. It hasn't had a huge bearing, but right now I feel like it is. And why am I saying that? Because this makes me think somewhere between a minus 0.25 and a minus 0.5, right? Somewhere in this range, somewhere in that. But I went from here to here, and this is, oh, that's the wrong slope, but you get it. I mean, it's sloping up still. I'm going to put mine at 0. I'm going to put it at 0. Steve C went minus 0.25. I was thinking about that, Steve C. I was thinking a half a point jump, but I was thinking that I'm going to let the sanity check pull that back a little bit. I'm going to put mine at 0. I don't want you to or anyone else who went to minus 0.25 to adjust. We're all, this is us as a group collaborating on something like this. What do we do when we see a conflict between the slope of our sanity check and our scoring process? We've seen times where it was like a little bit, but nothing like this. Agreed? Everyone who's right, if you have context to add, please add it for me if you've been around a while. But we've never really had that conflict. But we put the slope in place for, I believe, such an occasion. So let's just kind of like, if you went with the minus 0.25, leave it. Because it's not that big of a change, right? But I want us to kind of play this out and keep talking about it. Where it's like, if you put yours, if you're like, man, I'm going to minus 0.5, do it. I want to see like, okay, did that help you get your score down to a place that you thought better? That's what this is about. This score is not like, this is about orienting your thought process for the week. And so that's why there are going to be times where it's like a personal thing where you're like, Scott's waiting too long, or he's going too fast on this. I'm going to do it this way. Great. Because it's your mindset that you're corralling and putting rails up for. That makes sense. Does that make sense? Anyways, okay. So I'm a 0. But I absolutely. Okay. El Jago said the slope for him took it from a minus 0.5 to a minus 0.25. Love it. I love that we have a few different thought processes going on here that we can then come back and be like, okay, how did that work? So cool. This makes me happy. Now, what I don't want, though, oh, wait. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Tony's like, you're a month ahead, buddy. Let's make this 622. Thank you, sir. So Steve says, I see no buyers or sellers advantage for a zero. But we don't need a buyers or sellers. A zero is a neutral. I say tie goes, if it's a tie goes to the buyers, right? So is it neutral? And for me, it has more sellers than buyers, but an upward slope. So I'm going to give that a neutral score. And we'll see. Does that play out right? Or do I need to make an adjustment? So, okay. What I don't want is for this to cause any confusion. So is anybody left feeling, I don't understand what just happened? Or do you kind of get a sense of why we're scoring it and talking about it that way? Please pull it out if you do. Otherwise, let's go look at the major market. Is the slope based on, the slope is based on the full 1 month. Great question. So if you look here, when I go to 1 month daily, it's going to give me approximately, depending on the month, 22 days. Let's see what we have here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Oh, 20 right now. Sometimes it's up to 22. 20 days. So I have 20 days here. And what I'm going to do, I'm not going from the low. I'm going to go from this starting point of this candle to this ending point of this candle. And then I try my best to draw a straight line. And then I say, wait. And you can see literally every single day but one in this 20-day stretch is above that line of sanity that we drew, our sanity check. Where I'm like, oh, I'm scoring this a minus 0.5. And you're like, but it's going up. It's going up. Empirically, we can see it. Just that's an empirical line. That's maybe a better line than I even expected to draw. But there it is. Great question. Thank you for that. Hopefully that, yes, okay, good. I'm like, hopefully that connects the dots. Pun intended. I know, it was horrible. It's Sunday morning. What are you going to do? Market posture log. Okay, major market. Major market. Let's go. Let me refresh real quickly to make sure. And then again, we'll push our date over to make sure that we're all the way to the side. We're starting at 200 days. Who's on top? NASDAQ. Looking bullish. Like the bullish they are. Who's second? S&P. Who's third? Dow. So we know that the Russell's playing from behind. And so that's a core piece of this score ever getting above a 0.5. If only the NASDAQ is leading, it will not go above 0.5. We need to have small caps in place in order to give that next couple of, that's just a half a point, but those half a points matter when you're like, where do I get a half here and a half here and a half here? And that's what takes us to 5.5. So good start. Not a great start. Good start. Let's go to 133. Make sure I'm to the side. See, did you see what happened? I don't know how it does that when you reload it. I would think it always reloads all the way to the right, but it doesn't. So I moved it all the way to make sure that this is the most accurate analysis. Who do we have on top? NASDAQ, and the S&P's right with it. That's not really a bad thing. It's just kind of always an interesting thing, but it's not like, oh, what are the implications of that? Oh, nothing. There are none. Here's here's the Dow still sitting in that second position, and here's the Russell still lagging. Now, what do we understand? We understand that all of this includes the big drop. But as we start to move to 66 days, we're going to get closer to cutting off this and seeing what's eventually we want our momentum to orient on what's happened since then. Right? I kind of want to find that. April 7th. How many days would I have to go back? Well, let's see where 66 puts us. Ooh, so you can see it's putting us closer to that point. 55? 50? April, so 52 days? Let's see. You're like, what are you doing, Scott? That. I just wanted to see this. If we just isolated from the bottom of the V and said, how have things done since the immediacy of the recovery? Looks better. That looks pretty good. Like that gives me hope. Why do I say that? Because we're not going to score this. We're going to stick to the usual, but I just wanted to jump around. Maybe it helps to understand these analyses if you see me kind of play around with other things to what I'm looking to connect. And what I'm looking to connect here is, yes, it's important to see what's happened along the way, but what's happened since that bottom, that's what's happening now. That's the most important for now, right? And so here you can see NASDAQ on top. That's great. S&P in its watermark position. And there's the Russell. It's fighting. It's not in the leading position, but it's fighting, and it's in third convincingly. And then here's the Dow down here. But we don't do that. We don't go try to find one bottom to orient. We go to 66 days. So we still have the last piece of the drop, and then we have the recovery. And on the recovery, even here, what do we see? Russell in third. Is the Russell moving into third enough to be like, let's give it a quarter of a point? No. No. It's got to get up into here. And it's got to convince us. It can't be like it pops in there 1 week and then we're like, okay. It's got to be convincing. And then we can be like, all right, the small caps have moved into a convincing leader position. Now we give it that extra quarter of a point. Other than that, it can stay where it is, or if the NASDAQ starts to lose steam, it can drop. But right now everything looks fine. Status quo, half a point. NASDAQ on top looks good. Starting to see some prospects with the Russell overtaking the Dow. We'll see if that holds up this week. I'm going to leave my score exactly where it is at a 0.5. Same as last week, 0.5. Press wants me to now go look at, I know he does. He's like, stop talking. Go to the 22. Here it is, Press, 22. NASDAQ on top. S&P in its watermark position. And the Russell fighting to see if it can get in that spot. You can see it did it back here. Press says I need a 22-minute. This right here is why we can't rush to judgment for the small caps. They popped in there and we said, hey, that looks great. Let's watch and see. And then it popped right back out. And then it's just still sitting down, right? So, okay, good. If we see it happen again, good. And then eventually we hope that it rolls into the 66. And when it hits the 66, then we can score it, right? Then we can score it. Let me know if there's any questions about this analysis. Otherwise, let's pop on to sector rotation. Sector rotation has been which was interesting because when we first were starting to drop, sector rotation held up. Now, maybe sector rotation is just slow right now. But it is the dragger for sure, right? It did get positive. It did get positive last week for the first time in, since things really started to drop out. So, yeah. Okay. Sorry, lost my train of thought for just a second there. Let me go get the sector rotation. There. Are we all the way over? Yes. Okay. Where's our strength? Communication services looking strong. Discretionary looking strong. Technology, financials, and industrials. That's the big five. Those are our five growth. On this perspective, this is perfect. Perfect. Then there's the market. Then there's utilities coming down a little bit. And then energy moving up. We're going to see that continuing to move up. Healthcare down. Materials down. Staples down. This is quite bullish looking coming out of this. Looks great. But then we go to 133. And there's a lot more ambiguity. Right? That's the thing is you can't just take one fixed position, look back and be like, oh, now I understand strength and momentum and it's how it should. That's madness if you think that you can do that with one chart. If we're looking for how different things move with each other, you cannot do one relative strength time frame. That's a flawed analysis. If you're just like, I'm going to look at this one and this one from 3 months. Great. What about 6? What about 9? Now we have, right? And so even if you're doing, let's say you are doing some sector searching and you're like, I want to pick the best couple from a sector. You can do something like this. I will do this where I'll take 4 or 5 and I'll be like, all right, let's do a relative strength and see which one of these is the one I really want. So anyways. Comm services still there, but then you have utilities there. And then you also have industrials and financials are somewhere in there, aren't they? Oh no, they're coming up from down here. Where's financials? There. Financials and tech. So what do we have? We have financials and tech, industrials and communication services. But we still have utilities, and utilities is more defensive. So this is like a little worse. Discretionary down at the bottom, that's a little worse. So a little bit more of a mixed bag. Then we go to, nope, not 166, just 66, sorry. Make sure I'm all the way over. Let me skip this. Okay, this is our scoring time frame. We had some ambiguity. Strength followed by ambiguity followed by now. Technology on top. Love it. That's great. Discretionary second. Okay. Industrials third. Communication services fourth. Those 4 out of 5 or 4 out of 4 are all growth. If you remember, for a while there, we had utilities that were making it hard, right? Back in this area here, you can see what was leading. Utilities was leading and staples was leading, even in this area here. So all through this, and then all of a sudden we got a little bit of a pop. But yeah. I mean, this looks good. Is this enough to raise it to a 0.25? Raise it to a 0.5? I feel like I'm on the verge of giving it another quarter of a point. It looked good on the 200, mixed on the 133, and good on the 66. I need to hear from the group. Did you raise yours? Are we thinking about raising it? I'm thinking about raising it. Is that a bad idea as we are on the cusp of a... But we have to mark what we see. We don't get to just like predictively change things. That's not how it works. Let's go to the 22-day. Press is like, well, if you go to the 22-day, it might enlighten you, Scott. Energy. Now, that's geopolitical. We know that. We're not going to be like, what's the implication? Well, you know the implication. Israel shot missiles at Iran. Psh, There it goes. That's the implication. Let's discount that and look here. We have tech, communication services. There's the market. Okay, so we have tech and tech corollary. I'm doing it. What do you see? I see strength enough that I'm gonna actually put this at a 0.5. Yeah, trade what you see. If we think we're smart enough to overthink it, I'm here to tell you, we are not. I am not. Maybe you are. If you do, let me know. You can take over the group and we'll. I am not. Let's go to the VIX and finish this up. 0.25 for Stephen D. Oh, I didn't expect to be ahead of you on that. Bob Walker says 0.5. I feel okay about it. I feel good where I am. Let's go to the VIX. Sorry, VIX. You can't find this symbol. Honestly, the VIX is still primed for a higher low. Here's what's going to be interesting, okay? If it looks like this at the end of Monday, oh, that was so straight, you guys. Did you see that? It was amazing. That might be the straightest freehand line I've ever drawn with my mouse. What would all that mean to me? Lower high still. The highest point was lower than the last highest point. The body point is lower than that body point. So if we have this a little test like this on Monday, and then it holds up, even if it were to not hold this bottom line, even if the next day it did something like this, and then this, and then this, like let's say Wednesday, right? Or that would actually not be till Thursday. I think I would still call that the confirmed lower high right there. Bam. I'm okay with all that. There's nothing here to score. I'm not going to make it higher or lower. We're in the process of establishing a lower high. I'm kind of doing both, Press. I'm kind of doing both. And I am fluid on this. And I know it drives some people absolutely insane because they're like, do you use the shadows or the bodies? And I say, yes. And that's not the answer they were looking for. Because I can't. I've tried to be dogmatic in it and it doesn't work. And I prefer to just kind of give myself a fighting chance by allowing a little bit of discretion into the mix. That's where I've settled. Now, individually, others might decide, no, I want formulaic. I'm only going to use bodies or shadows, whatever it is. And then that's it. That's what you use. And that's what you use for your measurements, and you live with it. And then you make an adjustment if you need to. I've done it both ways, and this is where I've settled. And so that's why I wanted to, I prefer starting at bodies, but then I absolutely will bring shadows into the mix. If I can get to the right not to the right analysis, if I can get to the right answer with the analysis without shadows, I will. I prefer bodies, if that's helpful. All the time. Bodies is stronger than shadows because bodies is open and closed. Shadows is where we touched. We maybe only touched the high or the low for literally a minute, and then it just immediately retreated. And that would actually be where you're like, oh, that's actually strengthens my argument, but I don't have the ability to go back and look at the minutia of it. Exactly, Press. Sentiment extremes are seen with the wicks, but we don't know, was it there for a while? Was it just fleeting and it actually was representative of a fear of that level? So I want to allow myself the ability to incorporate it, and that's what we're doing now. I hope that makes sense. Does that answer make sense? you can kind of see, does the stochastics impact the analysis? I will look at the stochastics for sure. You can see that this is probably the same. I'll look at the stochastics and you can see the stochastics is what? Still heading up. It pinched, but it didn't cross right there. And you'll notice we never got a confirmation of a lower high, meaning it closed below the shadows. And you can see that's what I'm looking for, closed below the shadows. It never did it here. I put a bullish trade on there because I was like, ooh, that looks like and I had a bullish signal. Anyways, okay, that's my answer. No change. I'm open to what it might do. Here's the other thing we have to think about. Somebody give me a name on that pattern. Anybody want to throw it out there? Wedge, pennant. I accept both answers. Well done. I'm nervous if it breaks and holds. That's concerning tomorrow. You'll notice that what I drew was what I wanted. What I drew was this, where it's like it was up there at one point and it looked like this. And then by the end of the day, it ended up like this. And you're like, oh, okay, that's much better. Is this a kind of actually? You could put that on where you say here, especially if it gets all the way back up. Okay. Final score. I feel like that 0.75. The doji makes a break likely? Maybe, because we do think dojis are indecision. But I get what you're saying, El Jago, because whenever we say indecision, our natural inclination is to look a little further left to see like, well, indecision, but leaning which way, right? But leaning which way. I get you for that, for sure. You could go for the wick. Absolutely. Like how strong was it? How far back is this? 20 days? Let's go back 20 days. Not very. This is an hour. Let me see if I can go. Let's go down to 1 hour. That is much stronger, and you can see. Look at that. Oh, great idea, Bob Walker. You can see that this really did not hold up at all, but this did. And then it gapped down from there. But if you draw this across, not nearly as straight, but you get the point. That actually touches where we were. I don't know. This will be interesting. I'm a little nervous, but we'll see what the futures bring. We'll see what tomorrow brings. We'll see if there's any response, any news. Okay. I got to tell you, some really good discussions today. Really good discussions today. I hope they're helpful when we do those to like really polish this process for you. A funny thing about this. So this process is something I've used for 15 years, maybe even longer in my trading. I've taught it to every person I've worked with individually. And I've had people who would reach out after years of not working. Or maybe I ran into them at like an event or something. And they'd be like, what's your posture? And I'd just laugh because obviously they're still posturing, right? I'll get a text and someone's like, hey, well, what's my posture? It's a if you're gonna trade, even if you don't trade, I feel like I just want to understand what's going on in the markets, not from a talking heads news based perspective. God, it's so bad and so far off so often when you listen to, everybody's biased somehow, except for price. Price isn't biased. Price is honest. So anyways, okay, let's go talk about what it means now for trading. Let me get a note card ready. Last week's watch list was strong. We'll see what this one looks like. We'll talk about trades that we need to discuss as well. Apple, still, there's nothing here for me. But I want you to notice that Apple has conveniently produced this little, it's not a big one, but it gave us this little consolidation line here. So if this breaks through, look at that volume down here. If Apple can break through and get above this, if it gets back up to here, next trade's on. And you might think, but that just looks only sideways still, Scott. No, for me, this line now supersedes whatever this sideways action was. When it's going to break out, it's going to give us an early indication most of the time. What the hell? Look at Glenn. I didn't even know he was here. And then he gives a beautiful quote. Price is king, everybody. That's what we say. Price is number one. Thank you, Glenn. Good to see you. Happy Sunday, my friend. Thanks for adding to the conversation. Yes. So for me, Apple is looking better. Some people think it's worse. They're like, oh, it's down. It's no. Let that consolidation be our guide. Watch. Trust me. Unless I'm wrong. And then I'll be like, what? I didn't say that. ABBV. I think it's still setting up. I just think it's got to hold up tomorrow. Glenn, what are your thoughts, man? We've been talking about how nervous we should be. I want to know how nervous you think we should be. I know we don't have, we'll all change our minds when we see the futures tonight. We're purely conjecturing what we think the market's response will be, but I'm curious. Amazon. Oh, I feel like Amazon might fail on this. It hasn't yet. If you picked up the hiccup and you closed it, I get it. If you held it, I get it. That was a judgment call right there with that volume especially. Actually, with the volume, I feel like I probably would have a hard time staying in that one. Is this Miguel? Miguel, is he here? He's not here. Anybody pull the trigger on Amazon on that last little trade? Because it looked pretty solid, I'll be honest. I mean, honestly, there's times where I just look back and feel lucky because I'm like, oh, I definitely would have taken that. Oh, shit. APH, it's holding up. It's obviously it's down. I feel fine about it. I felt fine about it on Friday. Like it's trying. I'm going to give it its chance to catch its momentum because when it does, it moves. There's nothing worse than losing patience without price even going against you and then watching it go the right way. That was my thought. That's where I am. Anybody still in there, APH, let me know. Typical. War is unsettling, but the market doesn't like to not know what president was going to do. Yeah, right. That was unexpected. So. APH, holding up. BAC, holding up. Caterpillar, iffy. CLS just turned out to be magnificent. And I got to tell you, man, I feel like I let myself down and let the group down just a little bit on this one. Because I'm not sure why I lost patience on it the way I did as I look back at it now. I want to go back and listen maybe to what I said. I feel like I should have done better holding on to this one. Glenn, did you take this one? Did you hold on? I think many people actually held better than me, and so I actually feel great about that. Like I really feel good about that. And I wanted to expose, like, look, man, no matter who you are, how long you've traded, you're always fighting the same battles, the same demons throughout. APH is near the 52-week high. Does that matter? I absolutely love 52-week highs. That's my favorite thing. What does it mean? It means that there's no resistance. So great trade alert if you held, you bastards. Anyways. No, I do. I'm reflecting on that one. I discouraged you from doing a covered call. I would have lost on the upside. Oh, good. In that case, if I ever discourage you from doing something that works, then I apologize in advance. Here's a big ass cup. Big cup. We're here. Sells off. What does a cup and handle actually mean? What is the theory and thought behind it? That when it recovers back to this point, a lot of people are remembering, and it creates this huge resistance, and that creates the handle. And then when the handle stabilizes and they realize the trend is still good, when it breaks to what? 52-week high right there. That's where the expectation is that you're going to get this again in half the time. I believe. I might have to go back. If you've ever studied Bill O'Neill and the cup and handle pattern, you could keep me honest, but this is how I'm remembering is this coming again. So basically meaning this trend is going to continue. That's a horrible set of drawings. I apologize. Let's move on. CME. Interesting. Miguel was in this and he stopped out and then it made this crazy rally. But I got to tell you, I feel like this thing is maybe not going to survive. We'll see what it does. Capital One looks okay. Cisco looks fine. I feel fine. I mean, I would rather it keep going up and not turn into that hanging man confirmed tomorrow. I'd rather that hanging man not confirm tomorrow. That's for sure. But seems okay to me. Walking up the line. The Dow's kind of flat. EA. GEV double topping, it appears. Or a triangle. Oh, this is awesome. I did this in a class one time, just like this. And I'm like, okay, it's possibly an ascending triangle. What does that mean? Oh, that's a continuation pattern. So that would have it breaking up and out. Or a double top. What does that mean? That's a reversal pattern. That would have it going down. So what is this stock going to do? It's either going up or down. You're welcome. I'll be here all week. Oh, geez. Horrible. It's a bad old joke. I know. It was bad back then. It's still bad now. I get it. Gold. There's something there. Thank you, Craig. Craig. Thank you, Craig. I think gold actually, I don't know, Glenn, you're the gold man. Is it setting up? Are you thinking about it? It's kind of an above the 50 cup and handle type setup here. It's got this resistance coming across. That's supposed to be a dotted line. A lot of resistance, which means that if it breaks it, it flies. It flies. I'm not convincing anybody. You guys know I don't really trade gold. The last gold trade I took was when Glenn put the alert out for us. So anyways. Okay, let's keep going. I'm taking a few extra minutes, but we already talked about the trading plan section. So when we hit the watch list, we're done. Google. I was thinking about Google. I thought about Google here, but the stochastics kept me safe. Thank you, stochastics. And now I'm thinking, ooh, Google is looking a little bit more iffy. And if Google breaks, this is a pretty heavy line right here. Resistance, resistance, support, support. If it breaks that, not good. Goldman looks fine. Hood looks fine, but not tradable. They're just kind of moving up. Howmet. I was thinking about this one, and I still am. I'm not going to lie. IBM. Okay, so yeah, I didn't on this, And now that it's still coming down, I'm glad I didn't. And I think we may still have an opportunity to catch this in here somewhere. And that would be fabulous. Oh, we all want another IBM, don't we? If you took it, you definitely wanted another one. Here's a fun thought. Operation Midnight Hammer is Trump's Iran strike. I want to name candles for imaginary gaps. The Midnight Hammer. Love it. Love it, Kareem. It's we copyright a lot verbally here in this group. So the verbal copyright stands. I have archives of all our recordings if you ever need it for legal purposes. Just mark the date. IWM, I think, still could hold. I mean, it opened up, it pulled back, but support's holding. Let's see. Let's give it its dues. Meta. So Meta looks more tradable than Google does because I have this zone in here where a nice support level could find itself. You'll notice what else will come up. The 50 will get right up into that level for us for a bounce. I like Meta still. And we just had a nice trade on Meta. Morgan. I mean, it's new. It's fine. I'm hopeful. Microsoft. Nothing there now. Nothing for Micron. Netflix looked like it wanted to try, but it seems a few of the Mag 7s have that for sure. You're not wrong. Netflix is looking iffy. I mean, it looks like it's trying to bounce, but it's having a hard time getting started. Whereas the last few times, it just jumps, right? NVIDIA could be setting up on a pullback. Palantir, setting up on a pullback. Both of those look great. I love both stocks. I can't wait for another Palantir trade. Philip Morris. I'm getting close to losing patience. I need to see some defensiveness pop this on Monday, or else I'm going to just put a pretty tight stop right underneath all this here and just let it pop out. I was close. If I didn't get this bullish day on Friday, I probably would have just yanked it, but I gave it one last. Did anyone else stay with it? If you closed it, did you take it in the first place? Let me know. QQQ, sideways. Still with it, Bob? Roblox, yeah. I mean, I feel like the defensiveness actually could come into play, right? So that's another reason. A day or two more. That's my thought. Roblox, God, it's magnificent. I crushed this trade here, and then I just missed this one. I don't know why I missed that. I even talked about it. I talked about it on this day, and I'm like, this is it. This is what it's good. Didn't pull it. It wasn't great. I agree with you. It wasn't great, and it would have tested you pretty hard right here. But I feel like right now these hiccup tests are not that challenging for us as a group. We've been talking about them a lot, and we've been surviving them pretty easily. Good pull. That's a good entry. Rivian, nothing there. RTX flagging, looking quite strong. Defense stocks, not defensive, right? We have to be very, 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 very clear. I remember when I first got into trading, for the first year, and I'm working on a trade desk, and I would just get confused with that. I'm like, defense versus defensive. Defensive are from defensive sectors, utilities, consumer staples, a bit of healthcare. Defensive. Defense stocks are military stocks. Lockheed Martin, RTX, General Dynamics. Rivian, no, not Rivian. Rivian definitely stopped out. Rivian stopped out here. You could have closed here on the roll, but if you held for the hiccup, because we don't just close on rolls, if we believe that there is,
This is a reminder.
If there is a hiccup, but when it dropped to here for me, I was done. Now, some people stayed. And if you stayed, then I would actually say your support level is still intact, and it looked great on Thursday for a bounce, and then obviously Friday had a little different trajectory. So if you're still in it, be mindful of what are you going to do from here. I would not give it a lot of rope at this point. RTX, as I said, looks bullish. Let's just pop around. Lockheed Martin, Kareem, it's set for 10:05 as if I'm going to get done, be in my office, and then it reminds me, but I'm always still talking. Anyways, yeah. That was a good catch, Kareem. I actually have two, my daughter's and mine. She got it for me for Christmas. We went to this little bonsai experience, and then I keep both of ours. But I've kept them alive for 2 years now. They're looking great. Okay. Sorry, let me finish this up. We can get on with our Sundays. SPY is fine. Tesla. I mean, the watch list is pretty similar to what it's been. It's just there's not a lot of things setting up right now. We're going to have to be patient the beginning of this week. Be patient. Gear yourself up. Expect it to be, it's going to test us a little bit. So let's just expect that, right? TSM looking great. Add it to the mix of chip stocks that we love. They look great right now. Uber, maybe trying to hold the 50, hold that. Visa, battered. Walmart for me this is not the entry, but this is the consolidation line. So Walmart now for me, as long as it gets to here, let's say a little higher, the next pullback is game on again for me. That's my thought. XOM, absolutely. Let me grab that. Perfect timing in alphabetical order. Here's the thing. It looks overextended, but it's almost likely to break out again to the upside. So I think if you're thinking about oil, you're not thinking bounce, you're thinking continuation. So think about am I going to go to some Heiken Ashies, try to find the time frame where I can get in, find a stop level, and then see if I can ride, because you're going to ride geopolitical momentum this week if you're thinking about oil. That's a fact, right? What is the implication across the region? Don't think bounce, think continuation. Okay, that's it. 10 minutes over. So sorry. But it's good to hang out with you guys. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. I'll see you in the morning. Let's think good thoughts. Fingers crossed that the reaction is not too bad and that we will survive this without too much. Anyways, as always, happy trading.
Recordings